evening, everybody. If you're tuning in at 9 o'clock on the dot, thank you very much, Shane McCarthy. That means you're missing the traitors. We very much appreciate your support.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, we're definitely faithful. Yes, welcome to BlackBox. And,
You're not.
What
I've
do you
got
mean?
to talk about you, about traitorous behaviour last week.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Oh, keep Dom Solanke as. You don't need Chris Wood.
That was, well,
You knew, didn't you? You knew he'd done his knee.
I had no idea that Solanke would be out for 6 weeks. That is very bad luck, guys. Once again, my advice backfires on you. I don't know why you listen to me. Meanwhile, I got Chris Wood, and Chris Wood did the business. Yeah. Welcome to BlackBox. We're going to talk about our game weeks. We're going to talk about, against all odds, a bit of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, aren't we? Yeah. Well, we're basically got to look ahead to the double game week. There'll be more on the double game week next week, obviously, going into game week 24. But we've got to start thinking about it and planning about it. There's no point, really, making transfers at this moment in time without considering what we're doing in game week 24. So we'll talk about who we're bringing in this week, and no doubt we'll talk about Liverpool midfielders, Liverpool strikers, and whatever. How many Liverpool have you got at the moment? 2?
I did have 2, but I now have 3.
Ah, and you've made your transfer already. Okay.
I have indeed.
So you've not gone Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Is it because you've gone off the name Dominic?
Dominic. Dominic doesn't really feel right, does it? It's like a big Dom.
Yeah. He's back amongst the goals again. We'll look about our teams. We'll look about our game weeks, and we're going to go through the data as topics come up, because we've got topics to discuss tonight. Firing off of the game week 22 points and so on, and we'll take any super chats at the end as usual. There are 237 joining us right now, and as usual, I'll go through. Red Donkey's in the house. Drew Peacock, Mind Media, FPL SWAT. What? Drew Peacock? What's funny about that?
You know what's funny about that?
Oh, okay.
Drew Peacock.
I see. I see. He frequents the Scout. It's because he frequents the Scoutcast, and I've seen Andy refer to him as well. Welcome, Drew Peacock. I'm going. That's his name.
Accentuating it does not help.
Yeah. Who else do we got? Who else? Greg Fostin, Stevie P, Hames, not James, Connor Richardson, Chris Cullen, Graham Shaw, Rich Wood, Spanner's there, James Harding's there, FBL Frost. Have I mentioned FBL Frost? And Simon's there as usual, Simon MB. Welcome, Simon, aka Nigel the Crab. More will be joining us, no doubt, throughout the show. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday evening as we approach game week 23. Nearing that double game week 24. We're going to talk about that, of course, but also going to talk about the blank game week 29 and chips, and maybe a little bit of the assistant manager chip talk again.
Wow.
We've got to keep that in mind.
By its full name. Impressive.
Did you see today they started preparing the site for the assistant manager chip?
I noticed the subs bench was different, and I didn't know why. And then you correctly pointed out it was because it's probably where the manager's going to go when he comes into that little bottom bit. And then I saw their photos, and I noticed that half of them haven't got one. Moyes is still in his West Ham kit. And I thought, that's a bit of a bit of an oversight, but well.
I'm sure it'll be updated. So the assistant manager is coming. Is Az going to play it in 24? We'll see. I'm not, but we'll see. It's a no from you, is it? Okay, fine. Let's talk about our sponsor first of all, and our sponsor is Sleeper.
Yes, took a second there to remember who it was. That's good. Obviously, you know Sleeper by now. If we obviously have been plugging the Pick'em game, where you can get involved in that. As always, a link's in the description where you can get involved in the predictions, predicting outcomes, and win prizes like the IKEA set of drawers that I'll be sending out at the end of this month. But I found out about a certain Marmoush's signing. Marmoush? Is that his name? How do I pronounce it? Marmoush. From the Sleeper app. It was the first one. I got a notification this morning saying that he'd signed. So if you're looking for an app which will give you transfer news, it has like communities in it, it'll give you, places to go where you can chat football and see football news and everything like that. That is what Sleeper are trying to build out. So it's not just a pick 'em game. They've also got this great app they're building. And like I mentioned last week, I think, it's not just NFL stuff now. So if you downloaded at the start of the season to give it a try and you were like, oh, what's all this NFL stuff? I don't care about that. And then deleted it and never looked at it again. It is completely revamped now. So I would urge you to give it a try. Give the QR code on the screen as app. Let us know your thoughts. and give it a go to get all your football news.
We're doing some videos for them soon, aren't we? Doing one tonight.
We are. We've been asked to do a weekly. I think they basically want us just to have an argument every week about something.
That's easy. We can fix that.
Yeah, so I think we're going to start strong today when we talk about Forest. I think that's going to be our first video. So watch out on the Sleeper. Yeah, watch out on the Sleeper channel for Mark and I discussing Forest.
There's no argument. I don't know how you're going to put an argument up for Champions League.
Are you going to finish top 4?
Forest.
You're going to finish top 4 this season?
Top 5, probably.
Okay.
Hot news. They've changed Moyes' top now, so we can relax.
No.
There you go.
Wow. You go. I'm impressed. Colour me impressed.
Yeah, indeed. And there we go. So that's the news. And we'll move on to our game week, shall we? Red arrows for both of us. Only small ones. Wafer thin ones.
Wafer thin.
41 points for you, Az. Down to 672. Talk us through it. Go for the team.
Yeah, I mean, disappointing week, really. I was either going to do Sarr to Gordon or Visser to Wood. And then I did Sarr to Gordon, and then I was going to do Solanke to Wood, and then I didn't. And obviously Wood, top scorer, and if you captained him, I think, well done. Not really sure how Salah blanked with 37 shots in that game, but great captain shout if you went there. And obviously Wood was an obvious choice, and I didn't go there, so it's a bit frustrating. The big thing for me, though, was the bench, because I agonised all week about whether to play Robinson, Hall, or Trent. I had Trent on the bench, I think, when we spoke. And to be fair, you were
going to bench him. I said, don't do it.
You did say don't do it. And in the end, I didn't. I took him out, and I took Hall out I put Hall on the bench last minute. I was happy when they conceded. And then he got the assist, and it was all up and down. And then it made absolutely no difference anyway, like it so often does in FPL, because Solanke picked up that injury. So, 41 points. Raya, Gabriel, Robinson, Trent, Hall, Salah captain, Palmer, Gordon, Ahmad, Isak and Visser. Didn't have Chris Wood. Players like Ahmad and Visser, who are my only real differentials, didn't come in, and it was a bit of a nothing week. Small red.
Yeah, we won't dwell on my week too long either, because I only did lightly better, 47 red arrow for me, down 10k to 201k. Flecken 3 points, Trent 11, Gabriel 1, Hall 4, Timber 1, that Arsenal double keeps returning. Gordon the 2 points. Diaz disappointing again, started, which was a win, but only came out with 3 points and was disappointing. And it was Núñez who came on and got the points more on Diaz, Núñez and Gakpo in a bit. Salah the captain, 2 blanks in a row now for Salah. We'll talk about the captaincy later on, of course. Palmer 2 points, who's been sold quite a bit, I hear.
I know.
Don't know what's behind that. And then the hero, Chris Wood. And Isak with 12 points, and Isak with the 2. Núñez on the bench for 6. I was kind of hoping that Palmer wouldn't turn up on Monday night, and I'd bench jam Núñez, but I didn't get that. Chris Wood, I was at the Forest game Sunday, and it was 2-0, and I was with some people, and I turned to a fellow Wood owner who was with me, and I said, we need a Chris Wood goal. And about literally 3 seconds later, Aina crossed, and I went, here we go, and he headed it in. It was unbelievable. It was almost like we called it. And it was a sweet moment. Phoned that one in. Yeah, it was a sweet moment. And I thought of you at the time. I was thinking,
a sweet tweet moment?
Sweet moment, I said.
What's that?
And I did think of you, because obviously I knew about the Solanke injury, and I felt a bit guilty, I've got to say.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, I knew he was going to score. It was never in question that Wood was going to get at least 9 points this week. I'm not as much of a fool to think that wasn't going to happen. I just thought with Solanke having Everton and Leicester, with those two games, I thought, in the end, I thought I'll just give it, because Forest have got a bit of a tough run coming up. There was some method to it, but it is just frustrating, isn't it? You go with the option that is obvious. The Solanke to Wood option was so obvious. Anyone would have done it. Anyone and their dog would have done it. And I tried to be a bit clever, and it was a disaster. But I'm very happy for you, Mark. You did very well bringing in Chris Wood.
The obvious player I should have bought in weeks ago.
The most obvious player ever.
Yes. Great and the good. Interesting. Bit of a mixed match, isn't it, of red and green. And overall, I think it was a bit of a dull game week, because the biggest swing here is, let me see, a drop of 140k and a gain of 160k. And that, for me, sums up the game week, because if you look at the scores, it ranges from 39 up to 55. Not really massive swings at all. And so it was always going to be small red, small green, I think. It was one of those weeks. And when I looked across various teams, as I do, it wasn't really major differences. I mean, I had... What did I have? Let's just go back to my team just to remind myself what my differentials were. I think my differentials were Timber, maybe a little smidgen of Gordon, and obviously Diaz. So I had about 3 players that I looked at and thought, well, they're the 3 players that if one of those comes in could make a difference to me. And none of them did come in. And so therefore I got a small red. And I think most teams in this game week is probably similar. Like there was probably 2 or 3 players that really could have made a difference. And we haven't had a week like that for a while, and I don't like weeks like that. I like it when there's 4 or 5 players that can make a difference. I hope that goes away. Do you think it'll go away? The double will sort it out a bit?
I think so. I mean, like you say, I think everyone's got sort of 3 or 4 players that they kind of rely on because the template is fairly strong at the moment. But those 3 or 4 players, like Ahmad last week getting the 20. If you've got like João Pedro, you're hoping for him. Obviously, Mbumo's been doing well for people that held on to him. Like people have kind of got a combination of those sort of 3. If you've got Mateta or Munoz, these are the players that you need. And if you did have those, there was still a couple. Like the Palace players did well, but sort of like everyone else not so. And I think that all the people that went in hard on Newcastle, I saw some Isak captainers out there. I mean, even Palmer captain. If you go into Monday night, you see Palmer starting at home to Wolves, you must be thinking, I'm going to get a
And they scored 3 goals, no involvement.
I know. Yeah, it was a weird week.
Yeah. Well, let's look at the game week winners and kind of riff off this. Because you're right. I think what we have seen in recent weeks is players like Diallo come to the fore and deliver points. And this week we had 2 more players that were kind of major differentials in Calvert and Foden, who they're not wild differentials, as in some people would have owned these players, and yet they deliver big time. So if you had one of those 2, obviously you had a fantastic game week. What do you make, first of all, of Calvert? Because what's interesting here is we look at the ticker, and Bournemouth are 3rd in the long-term ticker, which is 12 game weeks. And obviously going into the double, our attention is going to be on Everton and Liverpool. So we're perhaps not going to turn to their players yet. But when we look beyond that, their fixtures are very, very strong. And also, we'll talk about game week 29 in a bit more detail later. They do play in game week 29, and they play Brentford, which is a very good fixture at home. A lot of blue on that ticker for Bournemouth. I think... I mean, I've had Semenyo, I've had Kirkes, I've had Evan Nilsson. I haven't got any Bournemouth at the moment. Are you looking at them post-game at 24?
I feel like it's just like Groundhog Day with Bournemouth. Like I've been there twice with Semenyo coming in and out of my side, and he never really delivered in the time that I owned him. And then he's obviously had a couple of like decent hauls. You've had Evan Nilsson all that time and not really delivered. And now we're looking like, obviously not at him again, but sort of similar players. I think we kind of have to look at Cliver in a bit more detail. I think we spoke about him maybe last week or the week before and said, pen merchant, he's the new like Milivojevic. You don't really want to be getting a player like that just because he's got penalties. Even though we did a whole episode on penalties last week, it's so ironic that him, who we discarded as being too reliant on penalties, scores an open play hat-trick.
Yeah, I don't
it's
think...
bloody typical, isn't it?
Did we say that? I mean, he got the hat-trick of penalties at Wolves earlier in the season, and then he comes up with a hat-trick at Newcastle in an incredibly impressive display from Bournemouth, and suddenly now is perhaps propelled to the top of the midfield options of Bournemouth. Cliver, Wataru is playing down the middle as the 9, not really a false 9, it's more or less 9.
And very central.
Yeah, and then Semenyo. So these 3 options, Wataru at 5 million and the 256 he's the 5 million sandwich here in the table we're showing. And Semenyo is still the dominant force in terms of shots per 90, shots in the box per 90. 3.01 for Semenyo, 264 on Cliver, 261 on Wataru. And of course, some of those, I believe some of those shots per 90 will be the penalties as well that Cliver got within this range too, I believe. Was that within the last 6 game weeks, the Wolves game? Must have been. I think it was. I'm just going to check that. But we've got to reconsider Clivert now. It's same price as Semenyo. The penalties are a factor, there's no question. I probably will be going back to at least one Bournemouth player post 24, I think, because I've got to start clearing out my players who don't play in game week 29. and Bournemouth have got to be up there.
Yeah, the Bournemouth game was in game week 13, so I don't think that's going to be included in.
Right, so it wasn't included. Fine, okay.
No, I mean, if you look at his returns outside of that, he's had. I mean, you take away this obviously massive haul. He's had 2 goals since game week 13, which isn't amazing. But then you look at someone like Semenyo. I think he's only had that like 1 12-pointer, maybe one other goal in it. Like, there's not. I think we've kind of discounted Clivert because you look at the starts. Like, you're always a little bit worried that he's not going to play, because I think particularly at the start of the season he was starting one, benching the next, and all that. And he didn't have the same kind of attacking threat as maybe a Semenyo or an Evan Nilsson did. That does look like it's less of a factor.
It's normalised, yeah. It definitely has. Yeah. Because obviously the injury to Evan Nilsson. Yeah. And I was with Neil Grover, who's the Bournemouth correspondent, in the week on Planet FPL, and Neil was saying that he feels that now Evan Nilsson's not there, while that central striker was there, Clivert is almost getting into the box more and linking with Watawa more, which makes sense because Watawa's not an out-and-out striker. So his view is they need goals from more sources, and Clivert has to step up, which is why perhaps we're seeing him getting into the box more and so on. So he's no longer so reliant on penalties for source of points. He now could offer more touches in the box, more shots in the box, etc., and therefore we expect his XGI to go up. It's 0.33 here. It's the lowest of the 3 players over the last 6.
That was also exactly his XG for the 3 goals he scored. Was
it for all 3 goals
in total? Yeah.
I mean, the thing that kind of puts me off a little bit is the conversion rate of 45.5 on a 60% accuracy. There's no way he maintains that.
We've been here before, Mark. We've been here before. We say that, and then he just carries on until the end of the season.
Yeah. Well, you'd expect regression there. Semenyo, in contrast, 11.1 conversion, so many shots, lower rate of conversion. Clivert probably is a better finisher than Semenyo. Semenyo is all about shot volume. I think at the moment, and I am not thinking about it yet too much, I will get a Bournemouth midfielder in, I believe, for Gordon, unless I go Diallo. Then I think a Bournemouth midfielder will catch my eye. And at the moment, I would favour Clivert right now. It depends really when Evan Nilsson comes back. But if that's going to be April, Clivert's going to continue in this more advanced forward 10 role. I mean, he was in the 10 before, but I think he is getting in the box more based on that small sample. I think he just about edges Semenyo out for me.
Do you see that stat that he scored more goals at St James's Park than his dad?
Yeah, lovely.
His dad played for them. I mean, they're a bloody good side. I mean, look at how many wins Newcastle had in a row, and then they play Bournemouth at home, and I think everyone, including us, were thinking maybe not a comfortable win, but I think very few people were thinking a Bournemouth win in that game, and they just started so strongly and just never really looked back. Definitely got to be considered them. I just look at these 3 options, and I don't really like them that much. I look at other midfielders and think they're better picks. Like, Bournemouth are a great side and I want to invest, but there's other midfielders that I like the look of more, I think.
Well, let's look at midfielders over the last 6 and where they rank there. So Watawa's 22nd with his 0.46. And then
I think he's ruled out for me. I've watched him play. He's bloody frustrating. He's not a great finisher. He doesn't have the same volume of shots as Semenyo. I don't know why you'd pick him over Semenyo, personally.
Yeah. No, I guess, well, he could have scored he had the goal disallowed, didn't he, at Newcastle? So
he's always
I guess it's the 0.6 difference in price, maybe.
Yeah.
So, Clivert's down in 49th, 0.33. Semenyo, 36th, 0.40. This is XGR non-penalty per 90, and Mutara at 22nd. So, relative to other midfielders, and I've highlighted the likes of Mbumo, Eze, Savio, Diallo. These are all players around the same price bracket, or if not below, who offer more in terms of XGI over the last 6. But for me, it's just the fixtures. I just think with the game week 29 fixture so strong as well against Brentford, it's a good run. And let's look at the attacking data and where Bournemouth are in that. They've fallen a little bit last 6, down to 7th, 1.47 XG non-penalty per 90. I think over the season they're a little bit higher than that. Yeah, over the season they're 4th, 1.72. So they've been quite a reliable attack. And what we saw at Newcastle was very impressive. So I think they're firmly back in our plans, and Kirkes as well. I think if you look at the defensive data, they've been fairly good for that. Last 6, 1.31 in ninth. Over the season, a little bit higher, 1.25 in seventh. So I do think they're a team we're going to go back to post 24 when we've.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the two fixtures in 25 and 26 do massively boost their appeal, because if you're looking at someone like Gordon, maybe like we've all kind of got him where they go. I mean, City, okay, a bit of a state at the moment, but would you rather have a good Bournemouth player, playing for a good team against Southampton or Wolves, or Gordon versus Man City away? I think it's probably quite close. Plus, then Gordon, you're getting rid of the player who's probably going to blank in 29 as well. I mean, you're probably not going to want to come for your Liverpool assets in 25, are you? Like, if you've got Gakpo's and Diaz's, you're going to keep them for.
You want to hold them to Southampton, don't you, in game week 28.
Yeah.
So it is going to be the Newcastle players that you get rid of, and Bumo's going to be the popular pick from Gordon. But I don't, and that is, they've got good fixtures: Brentford, West Ham, Leicester, Everton, Villa. But the Bournemouth fixtures are comparable, I think. And I think Bournemouth in 29 at home to Brentford, and Bumo away from home at Bournemouth. I prefer Clivert for that, or Semenyo for that fixture to Mbumo myself.
And I think if you've got Fulham players as well, I think their fixtures turn a little bit more difficult from 25. So if you've got like Iwobi or Smith Rowe or someone like that, they could be an upgrade.
Much depends on that 29 fixture.
Yep.
We'll talk about that in a minute. We'll go back to the game week data though. Foden, your former beau, really. You loved him, didn't you? And you've gone off him now because he's kind of let you down the last few times. Come in with a 19-point return off the back of that previous return at Brentford when Gianni sold. And then he followed it up at Ipswich with another return just to rub it into Gianni. Got a feel for him. Foden back, City back. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, a short answer, no, not really. I think they've had two arguably really easy fixtures, and he's done what he needed to do. I mean, he was when I owned him, he had pretty decent fixtures. He wasn't doing anything. I think he's, whether it's fitness or whether himself is a bit better in the head after everything that happened in the summer, I don't really know. But it's good to see him sort of playing well again. But yeah, I mean, I looked at him this week because I was moving Sarr up and I had quite a bit of money. I think I could have gone up to like 8.5 or something. And the first player I put in was Foden. I was like, yeah, let's get a Man City playing for Ipswich. And then I was like, 9.3. That is a really difficult purchase. If you've got Isak and Salah and, a couple of like premium defenders, and with Trent, he's really hard to fit in. So if you've got him, you've probably had to make a compromise potentially somewhere else. I mean, you're not going to be complaining, are you, if you've got him? Because, you've got a massive haul in the last 2 weeks. But in terms of buying him now, I mean, if you go back to the fixture ticker, his fixtures are absolutely diabolical. And they've just played PSG, who are a top side, and got thrashed. And they're playing Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool, Spurs, and Forest, 5 top sides in the next 6. I don't know. I just can't see them. I can't see them winning more than 2 games, the way they're playing out of that list.
They can score goals, obviously, and Foden offers a strong differential. But I don't think you invest in now. I know we talk about where you're point chasing and you've missed the boat. I think with Foden that probably is the case given those fixtures. And I think it's like you say, it's the price. If we go back to midfielders over the last 6 again. He's right up there in 4th, 0.77 over the last 6 with the 6 goals and 2 assists, which is the most. Is it the most goal involvements? Behind Salah. So he's 8 goal involvements to Salah's 9. Yeah. Obviously, we know he can be explosive. Is he fixture proof? In a normal City situation, yes. We wouldn't look at City's fixtures and go, oh, they might struggle there. But I think currently, I don't know whether we can fully trust them because, like you said, last night against PSG, 2-0 up, and then they let it. Capitulated, didn't they? And the fixtures are hard enough.
Yeah, I mean, common sense says don't kind of rip your team apart for a 9-3 asset playing for a struggling team with the worst fixtures, no matter how well they performed. I mean, you have to look at it. It's a bit like Calvert-Lewin, who we're going to move on to a bit. Like, how much can you judge him off the back of playing like one of the worst Spurs teams in years? I mean, that Ipswich just completely. I can't believe that's the same team that beat Chelsea a couple of weeks ago. They were just. Yeah, they were just so they just didn't even look like they could compete or even try to compete. They just had given up before the whistle had started. It's a bit like Forest when Man City just rolls you over, and no one's really expecting that. There wasn't much of a fight, and that was the same with Ipswich. It's not going to be like that for them in the next couple of games.
Yeah, let's have a look at where City are attacking wise. Fourth, so very respectable. But like you say, the last 6 have been strong fixtures. As you see there from the blue, and the next 6 definitely aren't. 1.79 XG non-penalty per 90. So they're amongst the top attacking teams, but they're not the
Everton, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, Ipswich. We knew it was going to be a great run. It was how much damage can Haaland do in that in those 6, and it turns out to be Foden who's done it. That's but it's too late. I just think it's too late. It's too late now. From 30 though, different story. 29, 30.
From 29, yeah. So they are attractive for 29. So if you are free hitting in 29 with the blanks, the big benefit is you can stock up on City for that one game week and have Haaland and Foden as a differential against Brighton, which, could be a very favourable fixture.
What? Roll them over.
You'll give them a good game. But we don't know where City will be by then. I mean, it really depends how these next 6 go for them and what state they're in at that point. They could well be out of Europe by then, given that they need to beat Bruges. You think they get through, but yeah, it's hard to predict. But yeah, it's one of the reasons why a free hit should or could still be considered for 29 blanks, because you can get on Haaland and Foden. I don't think managers without the free hit are going to move that way because of the fixtures to that point, and also the price points for Foden and Haaland are ridiculous, aren't they? Unless you've got 5 transfers and you could possibly.
Some do.
Yeah, they do, and then it's like, you've got City for a good run from 29 onwards, but you've got to plan for that now, really, and then be able to trust them, and that's still.
If he was 8, I'd be kind of all over it. I'd be like, it's a fun punt. People might be put off. I had it last week. I just looked at 9-3 and just thought, no, there's too many compromises. Unless like you say, unless you've got a really good team value or you've got 3 or 4 transfers banked. I'm not seeing people in the community doing it, but one of the most popular transfers this week is Palmer to Foden. How points chasing is that?
That is why Palmer is getting sales then, perhaps. That must be the reason why we're seeing Palmer sold. I haven't looked at where he ranks, but I know there was talk tonight on the number of sales that Palmer has had. Let's have a look. Let me just see transfers out in the game week where Palmer ranks. Yeah, he's third most sold behind Jackson, which you can understand, and Saliba, who's injured. So the top 4 most sold are Solanke, Palmer, Jackson. What's going on there? I mean, Palmer's he has dropped down the midfielder's last 6, right? He's dropped down to 9th, 0.63. He's got 3 goals in the last 6, which for someone of his price, 11.4, perhaps you expect more. So he has let people down, particularly those who have captained him, and maybe there's a little bit of rage and frustration involved in transferring out. You've got to think that are these people who don't own Salah and are getting Salah in for the double game week, or are they going to Foden?
I think they're going to Foden. I think they're going to Foden. I'm just looking at the live FPL transfer guide as well. Palmer isn't featuring very high, so it does feel like it was a bit of a knee-jerk transfer for those selling him sort of after the game. Looking at midfielders that people are buying.
Well, he was flagged as well. He was flagged, so maybe that. It is strange. He's not
midfielders
someone
don't really seem to be in demand at the moment in terms of transfers, because people are going for Gakpos, Matetas, even a goalkeeper transfers we're seeing, aren't we? With Alisson coming in, maybe Konate, Trent if you haven't got him.
But that run for Chelsea, it's not a run where you want to be selling Palmer, and feasibly they could be playing in 29 as well, depending on how the Carabao Cup semi-finals go. We keep talking about
Palmer versus City as well. Like, I love that fixture for him.
Yeah, you can definitely do damage in that. Let's go back to the game week performance, because I want to touch on Mateta, who's in there.
Do we want to talk Marmoush?
13 points. Oh yeah. Yes.
While
we're on Foden, and you've mentioned Marmoush already. price
Yeah, I
of
mean, there's a
Hill
few
today.
people in the chat asking what he's going to come in as. He's already come in. He's a forward at 7 million, which is exactly the same price as Alvarez. There's a lot of comparisons being made to him and Alvarez. And obviously, we talked about Sleeper as a sponsor. Our other big sponsor for BlackBox is Fantasy Football Scout, who Mark knows very well, of course, and I know very well, having worked for them. There is an absolutely fantastic article on Marmoush. And basically, this little segment where I talk about Marmoush is going to be based primarily off that article and a highlights video I watched, which I think he might be the greatest player.
That always shows him.
I hate it.
Forest were after him last season, and he even I think we put a bid in and they turned it down. I think he turned the move down. I think Frankfurt had accepted the bid, but he turned it. He wanted to stay for another season, and you could argue it's worked out, although the team may not get Champions League and we might. He's a massive prospect, and this season his data's even better. Like 25 goal involvements from 17 appearances is stellar, isn't it?
He's got more than that. Yeah, he's got 30. Where'd you get 20? That's wrong, isn't it? He's got 34 goal involvements in 26 appearances, second only to Salah.
In the Bundesliga, though, this table is taken from that Scout article. Yeah, this is Bundesliga starts. It's 15 goals in 17 Bundesliga starts.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, across all competitions, he's only second to Salah for goal involvements this season. I mean, he plays primarily as a centre forward for Frankfurt. He can play left or right. He's very Alvarez-esque in that role. He prefers to play on the left, given that he's got a hell of a right foot on him. So Foden on the right, probably not so affected. They haven't really nailed down that left spot, have they? Doku, Savio, Grealish, all kind of sharing minutes on that side. So he could come in and kind of make that spot his own. Savio's been putting in some decent kind of appearances, but when you've got a player who has that many goal involvements, you've got to think he's got to come into the side pretty quickly and kind of stake his claim there. He's amazing at free kicks. He scored in 3 consecutive games, 3 free kicks. Only Messi has done that before in Europe. And you mentioned underlying stats, topping the Bundesliga for shots. So that includes like Harry Kane, obviously in the league, among kind of the best for chances created as well. So he's going to take a bit of that kind of chance creation off De Bruyne, take a bit of that mantle and hopefully, create some things as well. He loves to dribble, most completed dribbles in the league, and defensively as well, Jules 1 in the top 10. So Pep's going to love like a player who can contribute to the defence. He's kind of got everything. It looks like a really, really good signing.
Forward.
Yeah. It's the question mark is he's coming as a forward in FPL. He's obviously not going to play as a forward with Haaland there. So he's already poo because he's out on the left, a bit like Gakpo. And he is going to be sharing minutes with, they've got a lot of options on that side. So he's a classic wait and see, isn't he? Game week 30, we might be going there, but until then, nah.
Yeah, I mean,
Bundesliga tax.
Yeah, City's fixtures are such that we wait, don't we? And we see where Pep plays him, how often he plays him, whether he's getting starts, whether there's rotation at all. 7 million makes him an option if he nails down that start. But Alvarez was never a mainstay in our thinking, was he?
No.
He was...
Only when
always
Haaland got injured.
Yeah, when Haaland got injured,
Yeah.
So it's a tantalising price and a tantalising option, but not one we immediately jump on. Well, we've got the luxury of having time to look at it.
Yeah, I think if he'd come in as a mid, I'd be tempted. I can't really see me going there with him as a forward. Unless there's an injury to Haaland, or unless he comes in and he just makes himself like undroppable. Then I think for 7 million, having any kind of City attacker for 7 million who's regularly starting is good. But I just don't see it this season. Maybe next year.
The thing is as well, Pep traditionally always allows that first season a player to bed in. We saw it with many, haven't we? The likes of Grealish, for example, in the Classic. He didn't really get regular starts until the second season, and now he's struggled again. So you've got to think that Pep won't throw him straight in and start him game after game. It'll be more like a gentle introduction, which is what he's done normally. Although the current circumstances are not the circumstances we've seen City under before. So.
Also, I look at these players who great right foot, loves to dribble, loves to get at attackers, and think, yeah, but you're playing for Pep now. he's had players like that before, and he's turned them into a weird mould, which is a husk of what they used to be. I hope that's not the case with him, but I want to see him play and what is,
he does
what the plan is.
He does have strict ideas of what he wants his players to do, and that isn't naturally going, just come in and do what you did at Frankfurt. He's not going to say that to him. He's going to go, this is what I want you to do. But presumably they've picked him because of his attributes, bring to City what they do want from that player. I think Grealish is, he was unfortunate. And with the role he played in that Villa team is not the role he's fulfilled for City. So that's a very good example of how Pep has asked Grealish to play a different kind of role and sacrifice.
Mahrez as well. Like, is he going to be another Mahrez? Like, all the talent, but just never really gets the chance.
He dabbled, didn't he? We kind of flirted with him, but we never had him as a sustained fantasy asset, did we? So he
was a bloody nightmare, that guy. I loved him as a player, but he was an awful FPL pick at times.
Yep. Mateta, player I tipped a few weeks back in one of my solo streams when people said, should I go Wood or Mateta? And I said, I just favour Mateta because of the fixtures. Has returned 4 goals and got 13 points at the weekend. And if we look at strikers, that's the wrong table. If we look at strikers last 6, where is he? He's 10th. Yeah, so he's ahead of Wood, 0.56 XG on penalty per 90 over the last 6. 4 goals, as I said there. Decent data, and certainly up on Wood, who's in 18th, 0.36. But Wood has returned 6 goal involvements in the last 6. Mateta's fixtures are better because Forest have a tough run. So Brentford this week, United in 24, then Everton, Fulham, Villa, Ipswich. Some really good home games for Palace in this run. 4 of the next 6 at home, Brentford, Everton, Villa, Ipswich. Very, very tempting. But of course the issue is if you haven't gone to him yet, the Gameweek 29 fixture is the problem. Because at the moment, they are playing Newcastle away, and at the moment there's a very good chance that game could be off. This is what we've been talking about, the Game Week 29 blanks. These were the odds. I think it was last week. I wanted to show this last week. So they might be slightly out of date, but there's no doubt that the top 2 options will be the same. We think the 2 games, or the betting thinks that the 2 games most likely to be off will be Newcastle Palace and Liverpool Villa, because it will be Liverpool and Newcastle progress to the Carabao Cup final. That's the most likely outcome. So the trouble is with that is a lot of teams, including myself and your team, have got 3 Liverpool, 2 or 3 Newcastle. I've got Munoz as well, and I've got Rodgers. So I've got 8 players who are likely, based on the betting odds, to miss Game Week 29. Now, I should say that we know ahead of Game Week 25 who the semi-final, who the finalists will be. So this is just a projection. But sitting here now, we've got to start thinking post-24, we've got to start correcting our teams for this, haven't we?
Yep. I mean, Newcastle-Arsenal is a funny one, isn't it? Like, it's 2-0 Newcastle, right? They got 2. I mean, it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility for Arsenal to come back. I mean, Newcastle did just get humbled by Bournemouth. Arsenal are a top team. You never know what could happen in that. But, I mean, there's absolutely no chance that Spurs hold out a 1-0 win against Liverpool. And I'm happy to be quoted on that. You can soundbite that. That's absolutely fine. There's no way that happens. So we're going to be down 3 Liverpool in 29. Majority of us have probably got Rodgers as well. So that's 4 players. And then it doesn't really matter who goes in the Newcastle or Arsenal game, because a lot of us have got 2 Arsenal, with Raya or Gabriel. True. You've got Timber, whatever. Palmer as well would go as well. So that's another player. So that's 3. And then that would counteract the 3 Newcastle. So whatever happens, we're all going to be in the same boat, I think. Unless Spurs can win, and then it's Fulham Spurs, and most of us have only probably got Robinson in that, maybe a few Jimenez's. But yeah, I think this is important. And it's I said to you before, didn't I? I was like, is it free hit time? And then I just suddenly remembered last year, that blank game week where we all free hitted it, and what a disaster it was. And I'm thinking, I'm not doing that again. So yeah, we're going to have to start planning for this.
So obviously there's going to be a blank in 34 as well for the FA Cup semi-finals. So we know that there's another probably more ideal place to play the free hit chip. If we bring up the chip strategy we showed previously, the blank game week is 34. Most of the strategies we outlined when we showed this last time out was the free hit in 34. You can play it in 24, in 29, but we think that the blanks are likely to be more damaging in 34. Unless we see championship teams through to the semi-finals of the FA Cup, we're likely to lose potentially 4 fixtures, could be less, but I would expect 4. I would think that way. I guess it's dependent on the draw and who goes through, etc. Of course. And Planet FBL have got a couple of podcasts already about this and did an excellent one this week, but it is very speculative at the moment. We'll know more as the weeks go by, obviously. Right now, I'm thinking, our free hit in 34, possibly maybe 33, because that's another option. So that means trying to ride out game week 29, maybe dead end into that and then wild card in 30. That's a tactic we've got here. So you've got, 7 players and I've got 8?
Yeah.
So when you look at that, we're going into game week 23 now. You can bench 3 of those players. And obviously you're going to want to bench the likes of Isak and Salah because there's value tied up in them. So that's a lot of value on your bench straight away. You've got to start making transfers as we approach 29 that prepare yourself for that if you know you're not going to free hit. And are you adamant you're not going to free hit and you're going to...
Well, I look at the players I'd have to sell to get a full team out. And you mentioned Isak and Salah, but I mean Hall I bought at 4-4. I think, and he's now at 5-1, 5-2. I don't really want to be losing him. So that's effectively my bench. That's the 3. And then that's not including Trent, Rodgers, Gordon. They're probably the more kind of disposable
ones. They're
ones.
The disposable ones, yeah.
I mean, they could. I mean, if you go back to the fixtures, I mean, Newcastle are actually sort of a fairly easy sell, aren't they? Because they've got City, Forest, Liverpool. Okay, they've got West Ham in 28, but then it's potentially a blank. And then you can probably look at them again from 30. Liverpool, that game in 28, that game for Trent, you're not going to want to sell them before that.
No, you bank transfers and you have transfers to get rid of your Liverpool players ahead of 29, don't you? You hold your free Liverpool probably until then.
But that if I'm not going to want to sell Isak, Salah, or Hall.
No, okay.
So they're the 3.
I'd argue Hall isn't. I know. Okay, you're losing value, but is he going to be absolutely essential? I know they've got great fixtures in 29 onwards, but there are other defensive options. We've talked about
and a double.
I guess it's a double, isn't it? Yeah. But
I'm not losing Hall. He's too.
Depends
if
you're wild carded in 30, you can move back, can't you? He is good. He is good, but there are. I mean, I could easily go Hall to cut. I mean, I'm not going to play Hall. I looked at my team. I'm not going to play Hall at City, home to Forest, or away to Liverpool.
No,
and potentially I don't have to play him away to West Ham because I've got options in my team. So because I've got Munoz who's got Ipswich in 28, so I'm probably not going to play Hall in 28 either if I'm keeping Trent. So I'm not playing Hall for 4 weeks.
Yeah,
and yet I'm keeping him because I need him for after 29. So if he's going down in value as well during that spell, why not just sell him? Because he's not going to stay. He's not going to stay at that price. Is he? He's going to slowly decline in price.
I think if you got him, I mean, like I got him at the earliest opportunity, so I've got the maximum amount tied up. If you bought him later, like there's some people who would have bought him at like 4.95. But I think he's a much easier sell. Yeah, he's a much easier sell. Yeah.
Well, I'm like you. I got him in early. I got him at 4.4. So I lose like 0.2, 0.3, I think.
The danger of all of this is that you avoid someone like Mateta, and then they're playing Brentford, Man United, Everton, and we saw this last year, didn't we? People avoiding players, picking players who've got that game in 29. I remember going for Hwang over. We all went for Hwang, didn't we? In against Norwich, that was a complete disaster.
Oh yeah, because they had the fixtures.
Yeah. And we ignored other players that were doing well, and you worry that it's again like kind of Groundhog Day. You can do the same thing again. I don't want to avoid players just because they have the blank, but equally I don't want to get to 29 and have 7 players.
Because the other thing is, going back to the game week review, and we talked about Chris Wood, who's here with 12 points. If you go back to the ticker, obviously Forest have got Ipswich away in 29. So you look at that and think, well, I've got to keep Wood because he's got a great fixture in 29. But look at the run he's got up to that. You've got to then take Wood into Fulham and Newcastle away and Arsenal City at home before that Ipswich game. So ordinary, you'd look at that run and go, well, I want to go Wood to Mateta, don't I? But you're not going to because of 29. And like you say, are we allowing our planning to get in the way of obvious transfers and picks? Because one of the black box rules is if you set up a master plan and you go, well, I'm going to stick to that, you'll neglect obvious things that you would normally do under normal circumstances. But lo and behold, the blanks and the double game week strategy means you ignore those options. It's just getting that balance right, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think Bournemouth, we've already talked about Bournemouth already, I don't need to go through that again, but I think moving to their players at the right time is going to be useful, especially with someone like Rodgers, because Rodgers to Cliver or Semenyo is probably quite an easy move, and people are going to be reluctant to do it. But if you get to 26, when Villa have got Chelsea, Palace, Brentford, Liverpool, potential blank, that might be the time to move over to Bournemouth, who've got Southampton, Wolves, Brighton, Spurs. That's a better run for Bournemouth, and there might not be so much in it between Cliver and Rodgers at the moment, especially because of the Champions League for Villa as well.
No, I think Rodgers is probably a sell once you get the Ipswich game out of the way in 25. You hold him for this run, but I think you can lose him from Chelsea at home onwards, from 26 at home onwards. So I do think Trent, Gordon, Rodgers, possibly Hall, if you haven't got money tied up in him, certainly Hall. Those four, if you own those four, you can transfer those out and move off them to set yourself up for 29, and you'll end up benching then, like you say, Isak, Sullivan, one other, wouldn't you? I would say.
And then you didn't mention there, but obviously like Diaz, Gakpo as well. Yeah. Once you get to 26, they're just so expendable, aren't they? they're going to be mass sold in 26, and that'll be when they both score a brace or something against Man City. You can just know it. It's written.
Yeah, but I think that I will hold Trent and Diaz as my two other Liverpool until 29. I think I will keep them. Yeah, I think so, because it's Wolves, Newcastle, Southampton at home. That's a run of 3 home games. And sitting here now, well, we should talk about it. You know, the third Liverpool slot, where do we go? The sensible move is you go for a certain starter like Van Dijk or Alisson. But the reason why I think that my preferred option, well, I've got Diaz, so I'm going to hold on to him. And the reason behind it is this. Liverpool's attacking data last 6. I have never seen attacking data over the last 6 like this. Chance per 90, an average of 24 shots per game. Big chance per 90, an average of 5.5. And an XG non-penalty of 3.03. So their XG per game over the last 6 is 3 goals.
Yeah.
And they're shooting on average, they're 24 shots on goal. That is massively ahead of any other team in this table. Chelsea are second for chance per 90 on 17.33. So they're a good 7 shots on average ahead of the next team. Now, they haven't been at their most fluid, but they are no doubt creating a huge volume of chances, as we're seeing here. They created a lot at Brentford, a lot at Forest. They obviously beat West Ham and Spurs by big margins, 11 goals in those 2 games. So looking at this, in compared to the defensive data, and the defensive data is strong as well. They're top for defence too, 0.68 XG non-penalty per 90. But there's no question for me that if you're trying to catch up, if you're reaching and trying to make up ground, gain rank, going Van Dijk or Alisson is sensible, but the ceiling on going an attacker is potentially greater. The problem, of course, is which attacker, if any, can you rely on for starts?
Yeah. Well, it's a funny one with them, isn't it? Because like you look at the draw against Man U, everyone thought they were going to smash that game. You look at the result, bad result, but they did enough to win that game. They should have won it. And then Forest, 1-1. That was a hard-fought game, but in the end, especially in the kind of towards the end of the second half, they looked a lot brighter, and Salah had some good chances. And against Brentford, 37 shots against Brentford. You won for a flecking monster haul, I think. Although quite a few of them were off target, but then they kind of win that game. I look at those 3 and think, okay, there's still spells in all of those games where they weren't as dominant as we've seen them in previous games. But then I look at the next couple of fixtures and think, well, Ipswich at home, that's surely going to be a massacre. Bournemouth is almost a bit of a free hit because then they've got Everton and Wolves. So you look at that run and think, I want to tap into that as much as I can. And actually defensively, I look at Bournemouth and Everton and think they could concede in both of those games. Bournemouth are a good side. It's the Merseyside derby. It's the attack where I want to put my bet or whatever you want to call it. And I look at the assistant managership and think, actually, Bournemouth and Everton again, there could be a slip up there. I don't think it would be a massive surprise if they drew one or even both of those games, which just worries me a little bit. But in terms of your question, in terms of start, I just think Gakpo is by far the best option to go for.
Yeah, I think. Right, I mean, Núñez is the problem. But if you look at forwards last 6, Gakpo is 8th for XGI on penalty, 0.62. He creates chances as well as having shots. He's not amongst the top 10 for shots or shots in the box. He's amongst the top 10. He's the top forward on show here, 2.65. The chances created per 90. 3 goals and 1 assist in the last 6. Over the season, Gakpo's 10th, so still very high, 0.54. 8 goal involvements so far this season. Do you think then that Gakpo, in terms of security of starts, is the best option?
Yes. He missed out in the Champions League. He's had a little rest there. I think from what I've seen when I'm watching them play, he's playing more minutes than Diaz, for example. I think Darwin is still a sub option. I don't think him coming off the bench and scoring goals, I think that even dents his appeal at starting because it's working, him coming off the bench.
Yeah,
they have Gakpo and Diaz doing all the running, wearing teams out, and then you bring Darwin on at the end. Because the pressing Diaz and Gakpo have got is just such high intensity, and that is what they need in that team. I just don't see Darwin as being a real threat, and then Jota's out. But I do think that when a sub's made, and we've seen it over the last few weeks, I think it's Diaz that is the one that
comes off. Yeah,
he seems to be the one that tires a bit faster than Gakpo.
I think you're right because obviously Diaz is playing that central role. I think there's another reason why. I think you're right about Núñez, but I think the other reason why Diaz will continue down the middle is because of the player second in this table over the last 6 game weeks. Diaz and Szoboszlai basically are quite fluid in that central role, and Szoboszlai, they're almost like Diaz is a 9.5 and Szoboszlai is a 9.5. They're not, Szoboszlai is not a 10. He gets forward a lot more with Diaz there than he does with Jota or Núñez, or certainly recently since Diaz has moved there. Szoboszlai has suddenly shot up in this table. XG on penalty 1.18. We've never seen Szoboszlai that high.
No.
We've never seen Szoboszlai in the top 10 for touches in the box, shots per 90, and shots in the box per 90, which he is here. So arguably Szoboszlai is another option. But I think one of the reasons why Diaz probably stays in the team and in that central role is because Slot likes that combination of Diaz and Szoboszlai. And there's no question that, in my eyes, that Diaz is a more intelligent team player than Núñez is. So and like you say, he's shown his effectiveness off the bench, so we'll stick to that script. We'll use him off the bench.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? Yeah. And it's a funny one, Liverpool, because they obviously have so many games in between that double game week. It's just a complete lottery as to who plays what. He could go full strength in the Carabao Cup, in the FA Cup, obviously Champions League, we're probably going to see more like what we saw in the last game, where Gakpo got the rest, but then maybe he says, oh, well, Diaz played in that game. Maybe Gakpo plays the next Champions League game. It's so hard to predict. There's probably not a huge amount in it. I just think from what I've seen, Gakpo just has more in him. Like it just has more of an engine in him. And then Darwin comes on, and when he does, I think he's more likely to come on for Diaz. If they were both playing 90, I don't think there's a huge amount of it. I mean, there's a few people in the chat mentioning McAllister, who shows up really well on this table in 14th. XG on penalty per 90 of 0.55, 4 assists and a goal in the last 6.
But why would you go there over Szoboszlai? I don't see why.
Minutes, I guess. I mean, Szoboszlai started the last 2, but he's been a little bit more at risk, isn't he, of rotation?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I think Szoboszlai is the tilt if you really want to tilt with your attacking Liverpool option. Are we decided then, amongst us two anyway, and that it is a Liverpool second attacker rather than a Liverpool second defender?
I think so, because I would be amazed if Liverpool don't score multiple goals over the next few games, but I don't think in that double they've got I think they probably concede in both of those games in the double.
Possibly, yeah.
Maybe I'm totally wrong on that, but
I think it depends on your situation. I think if I was in the top 10k, I'll be going a Liverpool defender and I'll settle on that. I think if where I am and trying to push, I think it depends on your outlook. But I think, to me, I've got Diaz already, so I hold him. If I didn't have Diaz, I'd probably go Gakpo, like you say. Yeah.
I don't hate it, and I think Raya to Alisson is a perfectly good move. I think getting Konate in is a perfectly good move. I think Gakpo and Diaz have risk, but they've got more potential upside. There's no right or wrong way to play it.
The only thing with Alisson
I'm going to back goals.
Yeah, the only thing with Alisson is you've got to make a goalkeeper transfer before 29 if Liverpool get through to the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, that's true.
And
that's true.
It's easier to bench Trent or Diaz than it is to bench an Alisson, because if you've got to bench an Alisson, you've got to have a playing goalkeeper. So you've got to think
if you've got Fabianski.
Yeah, if you've got Fabianski, who West Ham got in 29 at the moment. Look at that one. Everton away, so that's okay. If you've got Fabianski, you get away with it. Yeah. But so get Alisson now, you've got to think. Well,
I've got Danny Ward for some reason.
Yeah, for old time's sake, probably. But if you're getting Alisson now, you are basically saying you're going to make that transfer unless you've got Fabianski, aren't you?
Yeah, true.
Whereas anywhere else, even a Van Dijk or Konate, Diaz or Gakpo, at least you've got the option of benching them. But I think you'll probably sell ahead of 29. And all this depends on how many transfers you got. A lot of people flexing, rolling transfers at the moment, isn't there? A lot of people like with 3, 4, 5 transfers already banked. And you've got to think their tactic is maximise the double game week in 24 with not only Liverpool but with Everton, who we'll talk about in a minute. And then obviously have some transfers to roll so they can start transferring their 29 players out. So it's a very valid tactic. You can see what the play is there. I just haven't been able to do that. I've always needed, I feel, to make a transfer to this point.
Yeah, I mean, I've got two banked, but then I should have used one last week for Wood, and I would have had an extra 8 points. I'm kind of looking at transfers as being worth like 4 points now. I'm trying to think if I use a transfer and it makes me take a hit further down the line, then that's cost me 4 points. So I'm trying to be more patient with it, but like you say, there's always seems to be something coming up. I was happy to hold Solanke for a few weeks, and now he's injured for 6 weeks. So I've got to get rid of him. It's frustrating when you know the plan is good to hold transfers, but you never really seem to be able to. And I built a squad which I thought would enable me to rotate around. Yeah, and it just hasn't really worked out. So yeah, it's been a bit.
But the way you look at it as well, like if you'd have gone Solanke to Wood and got Wood's 13 points, you won't mind taking a hit later because you've got 13 points out of that transfer.
Yeah, true.
So it is that risk and reward thing, isn't it? Your transfers have got to pay off, but it's very possible they could have done. So
yeah, true.
That's what you've got to weigh up every week. But yeah, fair play to those who have got banked transfers. They're in a good position. It just depends.
What's the most amount you've had this season? Have you had more than 3?
I've never had more than 2.
Same. Yeah, 2. I know.
I that's conscious though. I've kind of like felt that I don't want to fall into the trap of just because it's a shiny new toy, but I want to go out of my way to do it, and therefore I talk myself out of a transfer that looks sensible. Because that's the temptation, is it? Like, oh no, I want to roll. I want to have 5 transfers, and it's like, yes, I've foregone a load of transfers I could have made, and I could have been 20 points better off. But look at my 5 transfers. I don't want to be like that. And obviously, those
it does feel a bit like that, doesn't it?
Does.
I thought, Seb at the start of the season.
No one who's banked their transfers, no one who's banked their transfers is going to look back with honesty and go, well, I would have made that transfer. And then no one's going to look back at that because they don't want to work out, had I made transfers, I would be 10, 20, 15, whatever points better off. They're going to go, oh, look at my transfers. So, but they're in a good position. So, Everton then, let's talk about them, because Dom is the poster boy. I never thought I'd see the day again,
there he is.
ever. He got the goal, fair play to him, and he could have got more, and you could say he should have got more. If you were going an Everton player and you didn't have any Everton, where are you going? Because Dom is 14th on this table with his 1 goal, 0.41 XG on penalty per 90, 4 starts. So he's fit now, and he's in a Moyes team, and maybe Moyes can get more from him. First of all, are you going an Everton player? And where are you going if you are?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to be getting Pickford, so not the most exciting move. Just double game week goalkeepers, isn't it? You said it last week. Just trying to hope of a clean sheet and then a load of saves against Liverpool and a big return. And also Raya has been really disappointing, and you'll probably start keeping clean sheets and not selling, but he's been really frustrating. If you're going Everton elsewhere, though, the only player is Calvert-Lewin, isn't it? There's a few people talking about Ndai. Oh, God, come on. Like, he does as badly as Calvert-Lewin. He looks a bit flashier when I watch him play, but his actual goal involvements are bloody dreadful.
Yeah, his shots per 90, 1.04. Shots in the box per 90, 0.69, which I think is the lowest of any forward in this table over the last 6. Yes, it is. And he has had 6 starts. So, he's not even averaging a shot in the box per 90 over those 6 starts, where at least Calvert-Lewin is
you need at least one shot. You need at least a shot to score a goal mark.
I've heard that.
If you knew that.
And now he can score from outside the box, but he is only having he's having 1 shot per 90 over those 6 starts, which isn't encouraging, isn't it? And you can say, well, he's more creative, but he's only creating 0.87 chances per 90 over that run as well. His data is poor. You're right. The eye test wise, he looks more encouraging than Calvert-Lewin. But Calvert-Lewin did have a lot of chances in that game, and it was Spurs. So how much do we factor that in?
Well, I mean, in the two games under Moyes, all of Calvert-Lewin's stats are up in terms of the shots, in terms of XG, in terms goal attempts 4.5 over the last 2 compared to 1.9 over the season. Ironically, his accuracy is down. His conversion has been appalling all season.
Okay. Yeah.
His conversion's 5%. His shot accuracy is 50 over the season. His shot accuracy is now 28%, and his goal conversion's 11%. So it's kind of completely flipped around the other side. He's more involved. Like if you look at, again, I'm looking at the Scouts members table for this, do the comparison between Captain over the last 2 compared to the rest of the season. But even things like the number of passes he's doing, the number of crosses he's doing, he's just more involved in everything. Everton.
It's 2 games. It's 2 games.
Well, I'm getting to that.
That's the small sample.
Not only is it just 2 games, it's also Spurs,
Well, one of the games,
who are just. There's no words to describe how bad Spurs are at the moment.
19th defensively over the last 6, with 2.23 XG non-penalty per 90 conceding 4.5 big chances per game. Only Southampton are worse than that.
Yeah.
And Southampton are potentially the worst Premier League side in the Premier League history.
Yeah.
In terms, statistically, they could end up being that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, Nikolai says in the chat that they do have Leicester at home as one of the double game weeks, which is almost comparable to a kind of a Spurs game. But I don't even think Leicester will be as bad as Spurs were.
They're not. Defensive data is even better. I mean, I think at home Leicester are pretty awful. Away from home, Van Nistelrooy could perhaps be a bit more pragmatic. We haven't seen it yet, but he could. But yeah, Everton could beat Leicester by 2-3 goals just as they did Spurs. That's possible. Not enough to tempt you?
The amazing thing is that he will get something against us this week, against Brighton. Everton will get something against us, and Calvert-Lewin will get something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's going to be a real bandwagon for him, and we're going to have to, avoid it in 24. Because even if he gets an assist or a goal, I think there's going to be a big clamour for him. If you've got transfers, I don't hate it. It's a double game week. It's a punt. If you're like me and you've got 1 or 2, you just don't want him.
Who are you selling? Who are you selling for Calvert-Lewin though? Because Wood to Gakpo is probably the more likely route, isn't it? If you're getting Gakpo.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're doing the Liverpool defensive double up, and then you've got that kind of spot free. I mean, you're not selling Isak.
Jackson's being sold, obviously.
Yeah, Jackson, Pedro potentially. If you've got João Pedro,
being sold. Raul Jimenez is being sold. Yeah.
Exactly. They're the kind of players. If you've got those kind of players, I can see it. I can see why you'd be tempted. I mean, I'm going to have Gakpo, Isak, and Visser. I'm not selling any of those for Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've got myself Delap mainly for. Yeah. Well, they had. I thought the Brighton game was a good fixture for them, and then I had.
But you're not going to sell him. You're not going to sell him at
Southampton at home in 24. No. Yeah. So, and I still stand by the fact that Delap could easily outscore Calvert-Lewin at home to Southampton versus Calvert-Lewin against Leicester and Liverpool. Like if Calvert-Lewin blanks against Leicester, that's probably him gone, isn't it? It's like what are Everton going to get against Liverpool? They can score, but you don't. I wouldn't bet on more than 1 goal. So it's really all about that Leicester game. And can we suddenly rely on a Calvert-Lewin who's got 1 goal in 18 consecutive starts? No, I don't think. It's nice to think he's revived.
Pedro's the one. Pedro's very popular. I think you give him Everton, and then in 24 you move him out to Calvert-Lewin for a punt. There you go. That's the best I could do.
Yeah, no, I agree with that because he has been disappointing, and I guess that if you've got multiple transfers, you've got 4 or 5 transfers saved up, you can afford to do it, and I think that's what we'll see. I think we'll see those who are carrying 5 transfers into 24 will go all out, and they'll probably go Pickford, Mykolenko, and Calvert-Lewin, and why not? I see it because then they've got transfers then to move away from them, or they can hold them because Everton play in 29 and they got West Ham at home. Whether I'd want to hold 3 Everton players all the way through to 29, though, I don't know. It would be really interesting. And this is why I think that, although we said this game week was one where there was very little difference between teams, we will see it start to split because I'm going to be fascinated to see what the teams with 5 transfers do. Whether they're going to use all those transfers to get on Everton and then get off them, or whether they're just going to carry a lot of those transfers through for 29. So I don't know which way it's going to go.
Because you could go Pickford, Mykolenko, Calvert-Lewin.
Yes.
Get all 3. Really hope they get a clean sheet and a couple of goals in the Leicester game, and then anything else is a bonus, and then move off them afterwards.
You won't move off all of them. You'll keep Pickford and you might keep Mykolenko, but you'll probably move off Calvert-Lewin, I would have thought, unless you want to take Calvert-Lewin all through that run, which, if he's completely revived and a brand new player, there's merits to that. But it's otherwise, you're using a transfer to get him out again.
All we could really ask from him in that Spurs game was to put in a good performance, make us at least think about it.
The audition was passed, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah, and it is a small sample size, but yeah, the audition was passed. He looked hungry. He looked a lot better than he's looked for a whole season, and he's done it at the perfect time. And I know I've said it well. I'm telling you, he will get something against us. He will score or assist against us. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind. And then it's real bandwagon time.
Let's look at Mykolenko. Mykolenko. I always get those two mixed up now. Now Mykolenko and Milenkovic. I've learned how to say Milenkovic, but I get it mixed up Mykolenko.
Struggling even in that explanation of.
He's right down there, 0.07. He did get forward, and he's playing wing back under Moyes.
Sorry, okay. I was going to say we're talking about Mykolenko. Got it. Yep.
Is he? If you're going to Everton defender, is he the best option, or do you go the old-fashioned centre-half route and go Tarkowski? Yeah.
I'd grab Tarkowski if I was grabbing an Everton defender this week. I just think if anyone's going to score a header, it's going to be him, isn't it? One of these games, it's going to be the classic centre-back double game week haul that we sometimes see.
Leicester are poor at set plays.
Yeah, and I think if they score against Liverpool,
you know what I mean.
It's probably going to come from a set piece or something against Liverpool, isn't it? That's just how those kind of games go. They do well to score an open play goal against Liverpool, but would it be too surprised to see Big James rise and overhead Van Dijk and head it in and take his top off and get booked? And that's more likely.
I think if you're I think Everton is nothing but a punt, isn't it? If you're going an extra, I mean, I will get Pickford, but going another Everton player, whether it's Mykolenko, whether it's Tarkowski, or whether it's Calvert-Lewin, you are taking a punt, and so you might as well
set
go.
Pieces for because McNeil's out.
McNeil's out, so I think Ndiaye takes some. I don't know who else it ships in at the moment for them.
I'm not sure he's on corners for him.
Ndiaye is on some, I think. But they haven't got Garner in the team at the moment, so he's not taking them because he would have been. But I just think if you're gonna go that second Everton player or even third, Tarkowski is probably the way I go. I know there's 0.5 in it in terms of price, but I know managers could be selling Timber or Saliba still, and money won't be an issue. And if you know you're not going to hold on to that player, I don't think there's any harm in rolling the dice that little bit more, because I think Tarkowski, it was the way I would go as well. Yeah, I don't suddenly see Mykolenko being a wing back. Yeah, I might do it. I could go 5 players into 24, and so could you, because you're carrying 2 transfers, right? So I'm thinking Timber to an Everton defender could be something I do.
Oh God.
But
when that first Leicester goal goes in, you're just going to be like,
I know.
Oh yeah,
that's the thing. Leicester could score, couldn't they? One thing Leicester can do, they could score. They have got some players who could do that and hurt Everton. I'm happy going Pickford. That's definitely the way I'm going to go. Arsenal double defence is a problem to me, and I could easily move off Timber for 24 and go down and have some money in the bank and have that second Everton player and 5 double game week players. But then I look at the run after 24. Arsenal got Leicester, West Ham, Forest, United, Chelsea, and are likely to be playing Chelsea in 29 unless they can come back against Newcastle and turn a 2-goal deficit around. So I don't want to be selling Timber, who could legitimately be a Game Week 29 player, just to get an Everton defender in. I don't think.
Yeah, when you put it like that, it's... Yeah, I mean, I'm like with Raya. So am I really going to sell, like, arguably the best goalkeeper in the game for Jordan Pickford?
He's not been though, is he? This is the thing.
Nah, he's been an absolute nightmare since I bought him.
I mean, this is last 6, and he's down in 16th for points per 90. And look at the keeper. I mean, Flecken's above him still. 3.34 points per 90 to Raya's 2.8. That's incredible, isn't it? That he just consistently outscoring him.
I know. I'm so annoyed I didn't go for Sells in that wild card.
Look at Sells.
Because I was there. I was literally there 5 minutes before the deadline, and then I don't even know how many points that is. 30 points, 40 points maybe. Oh, fine margin.
We said last year as well that getting the keeper position is a much neglected position. We think it doesn't matter that much.
I know.
But it can do when you miss out
4-5 as well. He was the one. There's always a 4-5, and he was the one.
He's been the one as long as I can remember, but for some reason we haven't. I mean, my reason is I didn't want to jinx Forest.
I blame you for saying he's a rubbish goalkeeper and you were going to buy someone and he might even lose his place to...
I said that at the start of the season.
Who's that Brazilian bloke you bought who's like
Carlos
8 foot
Miguel.
tall and...
Yeah.
What's happened to him?
He's on the bench. I mean, Sells has statistically, in terms of save ratio, has gone from being the worst Premier League keeper last season
Yeah, I know.
to the best this season. No, he clearly has. In terms of save rate, it's gone from something like 53% last season, 76 this season. Well, I don't understand that. I don't understand.
You don't see that with goalkeepers often, do you?
No, and our defensive data was good last season in terms of XG. So it's not like we were a really bad defence last season. We weren't statistically. We were bad at set plays, and so maybe he suffered. His save ratio suffered there. Yeah, he's just been extraordinary, and we've both missed out. And now we can't go him because we probably have to go Pickford because of the double.
Oh. But I want him.
Pickford will be all right. He'll
Alex
be all right.
bloody Moreno. Oh,
The Everton fixtures are decent in terms of, I'm not sure how many clean sheets they get out of the double game week or Palace, United, Brentford, Wolves, West Ham, but that's not a bad run of teams, is it? So if Moyes can get them kind of as defensively sound as they've been under Dyche towards the end. The trouble is if they are going to score more goals, they're probably likely to ship more at the other end, aren't they? So clean sheets will probably... We're moving to Pickford at the time when his form will drop through the floor, basically is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and my worry is that I just don't think Everton are a good side, like at all. I just don't think there's any quality there whatsoever. And yeah, I mean the fixtures aren't bad, but I mean Palace away, Brentford away, they'll lose both of those games. I imagine they're both really good sides at home. Man United they could win that. That wouldn't be massively surprising. Yeah, the fixtures are okay. But they got Leicester, they got Man U, then they got Wolves and West Ham in 28 and 29. But then what do you do in 30? Like,
your wild card in 30. Your wild card in 30.
Your wild card in 30.
Thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm.
You don't have to, but I think that's one of the game weeks we talked about where you would look at it. And I think that's fair enough.
From 30? Who's got a good run from 30?
You go Sells, I would have thought. Sells has got... Forest have got a good run towards the end of the season. So I would probably think about Sells again. United, Everton, Brentford are the next 3 home games from 30. I think it's decent from then on. I know our last 5 is really good, apart from... Our last 5 of the last 6 are strong. And then we got Chelsea at home final game.
Raya's got a good end of the season, though, hasn't he? Fulham, Everton, Brentford, Ipswich, Palace.
Well, that's only up to 34. Yeah, but it's good. Yeah, so you can wildcard to Raya as well. I guess it's going to depend on the cup draw double game weeks there, and we'll know more about it, won't we, as we go into it. I think we've covered everything we wanted to, apart from assistant manager. We're not going there in 24. I'll take it.
No, well, I can't now. I had about a month ago, I was quite bullish that I was going to use it in this week, and I know Liverpool have done really well. There's just been enough from Liverpool to make me think, just to be a little bit more worried about it. I think, with Moyes coming in, with Bournemouth playing the way they are, there's just enough to kind of put me off it. And yeah, I think Jota's injury was the kind of final nail in the coffin, really, because that pushed me towards Gakpo. So no, I won't be doing it.
Yeah, and I also think that with the attacking data, if you roll the dice on an attacker and you triple captain Salah,
you've got triple captain in 24.
Yeah. Well, are you not doing that?
I've used it.
Oh, sorry.
You know what?
Oh, on purpose or accidentally? I couldn't remember.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, if you
my 6 points from Erling Haaland.
are you going chipless then in 24?
Chipless in 24.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I've just got to hope that Gakpo outscores Diaz enough to compensate for the Salah points that you get. Yeah.
Yeah. There's always someone who emerges in a double game we didn't expect. We talked about McAllister. It could be Szoboszlai. It could be Konate or Van Dijk.
I like McAllister as a punt. I think people are considering the risks with Diaz and Gakpo and players like that. I think if you can do just an easy sideways move of someone like a Rodgers or someone to a McAllister, go for it. I really don't hate it. He's such a good player. I miss him so much.
Not sure about that. Okay. No assistant manager, Chip. I'm not going to shorten it. I refuse to use that derogatory term for it. In Gameweek 24.
We've been very polite and well behaved tonight.
We are. Let's talk about our
No
predictions.
erection talk.
No, none at all. Prediction standings. We're doing all
Look,
right.
this is outrageous.
What's
Absolutely outrageous. You were miles ahead.
No, I'm not. What are you talking about?
You were. No, you were miles ahead.
Were miles ahead, and you've caught
2
up. Is that what
points
you're
in
saying?
it
Is that
now.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I let you back in for the thrill of the ride.
You're always going to claim those 2 games you missed were like the key
Of
to
course.
you winning it, on you. Yeah.
Indeed. Predictions for this week. I haven't labelled a Garden Centre game, so I thought we'd discuss it. Let's go through it then. Is there no early kick-off on Saturday? Is that how it is? Oh,
No.
dear.
Starts
I
at
don't
3.
like that.
I know. No, me neither. Rubbish.
Don't like that at all. Does that mean, okay, so then with a 1:30 deadline, are we going to get, we're going to get some leaks, aren't we? Oh, dear. Could be handy for Liverpool, I guess. But
I didn't think of that. Oh, Gakpo
Well, yeah, I mean,
benched. Oh, no.
yeah, these are public leaks normally come out about Liverpool's team, don't they? So we probably will get some kind of guide, I would have thought. Because there's quite a lot of Liverpool accounts who seem to get their team sheets early. But yes, so we got no 12:30 kickoff. So there's no Garden Centre game on Saturday unless we go to the evening kickoff, which is Man City Chelsea, which I think is a game you want to watch. Although you've gone 0-0 for that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go through it. Brighton Everton. You reckon a draw? I've gone 2-1 to Brighton. You think Everton have got the hoodoo on you, don't you?
I've said my piece. The worst game I ever watched was Brighton v Everton. In my life, they have gone back to that kind of style. They're going to hit it long to Calvert-Lewin. They're going to cause us problems. We will struggle to break them down because they'll defend in numbers. And it's exactly the kind of game I dread as a Brighton fan. I hope I'm wrong, but I think they get something.
The next 3 scores, we are identical.
I know.
You've gone Liverpool 3, Ipswich 0. I've also gone that. You've gone Newcastle 3, Southampton 0. Or Southampton 0, Newcastle 3. I've also gone that. And then for the hipsters match of the day, Bournemouth versus Forest, which is unquestionably the best game on this slate. You've gone 1-0 and so have I. Very difficult. I mean, it's not difficult to separate Liverpool, Ipswich, Newcastle, Southampton. I can't really argue against those. Bournemouth, Forest, we both think a draw. Very difficult to separate the 2 teams there, isn't there?
Yes, I've given quite a lot of draws this week because I've found it quite hard to separate the teams. But this one, of all of them, I think is the toughest one to call. I mean, if there is a winner in this game, they will be absolutely delighted, I think. I mean, we beat Bournemouth at the Vitality, and that was a big win for us. And that's when they were playing really well. So they are, you can get at them. Just pretty good game. Shame we can't watch it because we live in the bloody UK.
Yeah, Callum's out for Forest. I think that's a blow. If Callum was playing, I would fancy us to maybe nick it, but he's not, and I think that weakens us quite a lot because when we've got Elanga and Callum on the pitch, it gives them a little bit more to worry about.
You can't call one player Elanga and the other one.
Hudson Odoi.
Callum.
Well, I call Elanga Anthony when I'm at the game. I do.
That's disrespectful. No one wants to be called that these days.
No, it's true. I think with Hudson Odoi out, it's a problem.
It's quite funny they kept Anthony and got rid of Elanga, isn't it? Elanga's so much better.
It is. Yeah, it is funny. Okay, Wolves Arsenal. You've gone 2-0. I've gone 2-1. I just think Wolves could nick one, and my faith in the Arsenal defence, having owned two Arsenal defenders all this time, He's not particularly strong, but you're a Raya's owner, so you're going to go clean sheet. Fair enough.
What about these Kuna rumours to Forest?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to put in a bid. I mean, I'd love to. Sitting here now, if we put in a bid for... I think he'll leave Wolves. I think he'll go. I think he wants out. I think that there's probably some agent agitation going on. And I think that... I wouldn't say he's finished at Wolves, but it's been a rocky last 7 days, isn't it? Where you see what...
Yeah.
Was it Liam Keane, the Wolves journalist, said that he went straight down the tunnel. And what's interesting was Pereira also came out and said, I wasn't impressed with Kuna's body language. And he also said, and also he went straight down the tunnel.
Yeah.
And
all the fans also said he went straight down the tunnel.
Yeah.
But Kuna's reaction to the journalist was liar.
Yeah, and then he said, I didn't do that. And so the journalist apologised, but Pereira also said it as well. So if he's calling the journalist a liar, he's presumably calling his own manager a liar and claiming the same thing. Yeah.
So he's calling his manager, the fans, and the journalist all a liar in one go.
Yeah, it's not great, is it?
Fractured, to say the least.
And
he's gone. It's Arsenal.
He's going in the summer. He's going in the summer for sure. It's whether he goes in January. Do you think he'll go? Do you think he'll leave in this window?
Yeah.
See, I don't think Arsenal are going to go. I don't think Arsenal are going to go for him because I look at what Arsenal need and think he's not really a solution because he can play that central attacker, but he's not a fox in the box, 6-yard box striker, is he? He wants to be everywhere and get involved and be on the ball. And I guess he can play the 9, but he's not a traditional 9. He's very much like Jesus in that he wants to drift out wide. He wants to be on the ball. He can do things out wide. He's a much better player than Jesus, and more of a goal threat. But I don't think he's I wouldn't say, well, Arsenal really need a Kuna. I think they really need a centre forward, a player who's going to do what Haaland does, which is just stay in the box and play in that central column. Kuna's going to wander everywhere. I guess Kuna does give them another option out wide while Saka's not there. Whereas I look at Forest and go, he's exactly what we need because he gives us some ability to rest Wood in games and in starts, but he also can play either right or left. He can also play as a number 10 with Gibbs White behind the striker. He can play anywhere. I think they showed a graphic on Sky where he's played like 11 different positions or something this season. So I'd love it if we got him, but I don't think it's likely.
He's an unreal player. I mean, you'd probably need, 50, 60 million?
We need 50 to 60, yeah. It'll be a big statement.
How much do you want Champions League?
I think if we got him, I would back us then to finish top 5 if we got Kuna, because I think what Kuna gives you is the ability to damage any team, any level. Like we could play City and Arsenal at home and he could score against them. Like we haven't got that player at the moment. Right? We'd have to fight to score goals in those games. Whereas Kuna, you can get a goal out of nothing with him.
There's lots of rumours about Garnacho going, isn't there, from Man U, and because he's is he academy or he was bought young or something? Because they make the full profit.
The PSI
on the move, I was reading about it, and actually gives them like 160 million to spend or something ridiculous because they can stagger the wages and everything over the contract.
That's right. Yeah.
So I do wonder if Garnacho goes, whether deadline day comes along and Man U put in a 50, 60 million bid for him, would he go to a fellow relegation struggling team? Probably, because they're paying about 300 grand a week. That'd be a shame. I'd much rather go to Forest.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be amazing. Anyway. Where were we? Man City, Chelsea. Is this the Garden Centre game then? Seeing you gone 0-0 and I've gone 1-0.
That's what I've got.
Because we're not going Spurs Leicester because I think that would be very entertaining on Sunday. Villa West Ham, isn't it? It's Villa West Ham.
Yeah,
it's got to be Villa West Ham. Here we go.
And Villa haven't won any.
The annoying black background graphic. Just to annoy you. I haven't got the transparent logo. GIF on. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I just think City Chelsea. So my stat was
City
Villa
Chelsea.
haven't won any of the 5 games following a Champions League game this season.
So you've gone 1-0. I've gone 2-1 Villa. Yeah, okay. But let's go back to City Chelsea. You've gone 0-0. Why? Why do you think?
I just think neither team wants to lose. It's going to be boring as hell. Operation don't lose.
You're possibly right. I mean, I hope that's the result because that's a great result for Forest. I can't believe I'm sitting here saying I'd want a draw between City and Chelsea is a great result for Forest. I've got to check myself, but it would be. It'd be a fantastic result for Chelsea if those two draw and drop points. We both predicted a draw. Palace Brentford 2-1. We both agree on that outcome and that score. Spurs Leicester, you've gone 2-1. I've gone 3-1. Spurs won tonight. Yeah. Surely there's a revival coming.
Only just. It's 3-2 in the end, and Hoffenheim aren't good.
I want to see Hans cheer up. I really do. Come on.
You're going to be waiting a while for that.
Villa West Ham, you've gone 1-1. I've gone 2-1. And then finally, Fulham Man United, we agree again. I think that's 5 identical scores. 2-1 for the Sunday evening game. Sunday 7 o'clock kickoffs have suddenly.
It's mad because we can't see each other's scores. That's the thing. Like, we
don't.
Can't,
yeah.
when we're putting them in, we don't see them. But they seem. I don't know. This season, we seem to be so close on these. I spent too much time with you. Definitely.
You do. Captaincy. Okay. So, yeah. Is it a foregone conclusion?
Yep. Next slide.
Is it? Is it all on Salah at home to Ipswich?
Yes.
I mean, Isak's at Southampton, but he's just let us down. But Salah's off the back of 2 blanks. Is it? Yeah. I mean, you can roll the dice this week. I think you can look at Isak as an alternative, and the EO will be all on Salah, obviously. So it is a potential to roll the dice. What did you predict for Newcastle? We both predicted 3-0, didn't we?
3-0 on both, yeah.
You don't think there's a drop off in Salah at the moment? You don't think there's anything to concern yourselves there with the 2 blanks? I mean, he's top of the XGI non-penalty per 90, 1.28 for midfielders, and then you look at Isak 1.11. So his XGI per 90 is lower. I could have just kept
any other season, yeah, but Salah's got 200 points after 22 weeks and is playing a team. I mean, to be fair, they're both playing awful teams, but home game, and I mean, Ipswich have just got no chance. Southampton could put up a wall and keep the score down. I don't know. They're both good options, aren't they? But Salah is just on another level. So
I think also it's the extra point for the clean sheet, because I do think Liverpool will keep the clean sheet. So that's
and the goal as well.
And the goal. Right. So I think Isak's got to get a brace to every Salah goal, because Salah's getting the clean sheet. So if Salah gets 1 goal, Isak's got to get 2, isn't he? Really, in that scenario, more or less.
If I was braver, I'd go for Trent.
Would you? Yeah. I mean, what's his returns? 3 returns in the last 6 isn't great, is it? He is not the predictable source of points that we wanted him and expected him to be, is he? It's just the way of playing and the way Liverpool use him game to game isn't. There's no pattern there. Like, there was a spell last year where, when he was inverted, that he was in that role every week and he was playing a lot of through balls, and you felt like, you could invest in him and maybe even consider him for the captaincy with a degree of confidence. Slot seems to kind of vary his role game to game and allow him a license to get forward. It's tweak game to game according to the opponent. Because against United, I don't remember him being a factor going forward. He was certainly a factor at the other end, not defending, wasn't he? So I guess, Slot's a bit more cautious about how he uses Trent and the license he gives him to go forward. And Salah is very wide under Slot as well. Like, very wide. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a foregone conclusion. Let's look at what Rob says anyway, because we always like to use his graphic. He's got Foden on there, of course. But yeah, Liverpool well out on top for the spread betting projected goals 3.4.
Quite a bit higher
best is Newcastle 2.5, Spurs 2.55. A lot higher.
More in
that's
it.
A big gap.
Yeah, more in it than I thought.
And I think that just sells it to you if you weren't sold already. And the clean sheet is the most secure. So Salah is getting that extra point, most likely as well. So, fair enough.
I can also see Isak sort of, 2-0 up. Isak comes off 60, 70 minutes, whatever. I think Liverpool would have to be like 4 or 5 up before he gave a rest.
Salah just doesn't come off, does he?
Yeah,
because we know there's subs queuing up before that. There's going to be Harvey Elliott will be on.
Yeah.
Endo will be on. Nunez will be on. And it's like Chiesa could be an option to come off the bench for Salah, but it's going to be 4th or 5th sub down the line. and that's without.
Yeah, well, he's got his hat trick and he gives a clap to the fans. Whereas Isak, they need to protect, don't they? So there's more. Yeah. I think expect him in. It's got to be higher for Salah as well.
Because they can stick a Sulu on or move Gordon central and take Isak off. Yeah, they haven't got Barnes. I guess that might limit that a little bit. But yeah, I think you're right on that as well. Okay, our game weeks. You've made your transfer. Oh look, you've got your updated graphic with the new updated bench. I haven't got that. I'm jealous.
Well, this is one of those weeks where I look at my team and I think, this can't possibly get a red arrow. And we all know what that means. It's Raya in goal with Trent, Gabriel and Hall, Salah, Palmer, Gordon, Rodgers, Isak, Gakpo and Visser. This is the one where I've got Ahmad on the bench. I've got Robinson. I'm kind of, but Visser and Ahmad is close, I think. But I think Brentford are better than United at the moment. Then Ahmad's more involved. Not totally sure on which way I'm going to go with that, but the other 10, like they all just look quite good. So
Ahmad wing back tonight again, wasn't he? Did you see that? Garnacho actually started. So I know. Obviously, he got the hat trick from wing back, so we can't put too much into that. But yeah,
it's 50-50. I think I don't really know which one is better to play. I mean, Ahmad did get a hat trick, and he was started the game at wing back.
I think this is the call there, personally. Fulham are a much stronger defensive side as well than Palace. I say that, but Palace have probably improved recently.
They have.
Defence last 6.
Yeah, they have.
But Fulham, fourth last 6, 0.93. Palace have improved, but they're still 1.42. So last 6, they're stronger. Over the season, they're definitely stronger. Fulham are 1.18 and Palace 1.37. This is all XG conceded non-penalty per 90. So I think because Fulham are a stronger team defensively, and also Brentford are a better team going forward than United, aren't they? You go Visser. Yeah. I think that's right. A lot of bench headaches this week, though, for people, aren't there?
There is. I was in the Q&A with Sam earlier, pretty much every question was about benching. I think, like she said, it's because a lot of people are looking to roll the transfer this week, or they're having to make a move because like a Solanke's injured or something like that. If you've already got your 3 Liverpool, for example, you don't need to make a move, do you? And a lot of people have already got Diaz, a lot of people have already got Alisson in or Konate. There's just people like me who had to deal with... I really wanted Solanke for one more week. I was like, come on, got Leicester at home, bow out of my team. We've had a real love and hate relationship all season. Yeah, put a bit of a downer on that, but I won't hold it against him because he's hurt his knee.
I fancy Gakpo for Ipswich. I think you're in a good place there. So you've made your transfer. You're rolling one. You're rolling one over. Are you?
Yep.
For 24. So you're gonna have 2 in 24. Mm-hmm. Right now, sitting here now, your plan moves are Raya to Pickford and Rolling and the other one, or are you going to go another Everton? You're going to stick with one Everton. You're taking 4 in. Okay.
Yeah, Raya to Pickford and hold. I'm not selling any of those free for Calvert-Lewin. I mean, I could do Davis to Mikalenko, but it's actually a bit of a benching headache as well to bring him in. Do I really want to be benching like a decent player for
I think
Mikalenko?
Hall's got a good fixture, hasn't he? I think. Hall's got Fulham at home. Yeah. You don't mind playing Hall there. Arsenal at home to City, but you're still going to play Gabriel, aren't you, really, because of the goal threat?
There's no way I'm benching Gabriel. Yeah.
And you play Trent. Yeah, so I guess... Yeah,
could do Davis to Mikalenko and bench Hall, but no, I don't think so.
I think that carrying that one transfer over, given that you've got 7 players to sort for game week 29, potentially, is probably the way to go.
If I wasn't going to do it, the best move would probably be to sell Hall for Mikalenko, because then obviously that does that move in advance.
Flecken again, he survives. Why not? He's outscoring Raya. Flecken, Trent, Gabriel, Hall, Gordon, Rodgers, Salah, Palmer, Diaz, Wood, Isak. And I've got a benching headache because I've got Munoz at home to Brentford and Timber away at Wolves. At the moment, those 2 are on the bench. Do you think I've got that right, or would you swap? I mean, I've seen people go, I'm not going to play Wood at Bournemouth, but I don't know about that.
Yeah, our teams are disgustingly similar, aren't they? We've got, 3 players different? Wood, Diaz and Flecken. That's it. The rest of our team's the same. I would probably...
Munoz at home to Brentford
is
good. Munoz at home to Brentford I do like, but I do think Brentford probably score, whereas Southampton, they could score.
I think I'd play Munoz.
Would you? Have a look at defenders last 6, because I think it's very close between them. I always go to the wrong one.
I think I'd play Munoz.
Munoz is 4th. 0.24 extra.
It's not
non-penalty
massive.
per
It's not
90.
crazy high, is it?
And Hall is 0.18.
His
Not
positioning,
massive.
though, like, did you see those graphics of him? Like, there was like 2 easy balls to him when he was just in the penalty area after a breakaway.
I know. I fear it. I mean, I could not play Rodgers. Don't know.
Timber on the bench as well.
I know
Munoz
Timber as
and
well.
Timber.
Yeah, I know. Because I mean, Arsenal
Vlad-
could go to Wolves and keep a clean sheet easily, couldn't they?
Vlad Marson
Yeah.
out and bench boost.
Yeah. I know.
Vlad
It's not
Marson
bad,
to
is it?
Pickford.
Yeah. No, well, I could do that.
It wouldn't, honestly, it would not be the
I
worst
know.
bench boost.
I know.
The
Yeah.
lap away at Liverpool was obviously not ideal, but you never know. Oh, I don't know. That's really tough. I like the 3 defenders you're playing are obviously right, so you'd have to take an attacker out.
Horrible,
I think
isn't it?
I think you probably got it right.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. I will do the same as you. I'm rolling a transfer this week. Take 2 into 24, Flecken to Pickford, and probably hold at that. I could go Hall to Mikalenko or Timber to Mikalenko, but I don't think I will. Or Tarkowski, but I don't think I will because I need to bank that transfer to get out of the 29 situation. I'm likely to be in, and I'm 1 player worse off than you. I'm currently, if the fixtures work out as projected, I'm taking 8. I've got 8 players missing for 29, so I've got to make at least 5 transfers that fixes that into 29.
So every transfer you make,
unless I don't have 11. Yeah, I've got to. Yeah. So it's the way we've got to think now. So yeah, okay. That benching headache will carry through to deadline, no doubt. And maybe we'll get some information on team sheets before the 3 o'clocks that'll help that. If Diaz is benched, maybe I
forgot about that. I mean, I did the Gakpo move last night because he was going up, but I'm thinking maybe I should have waited to see if we got any team news. But I'm sure Gakpo missed out in the Champions League. There's no chance.
I think he's a sure.
There's no chance he's going to be benched. Yeah.
We haven't looked at the black box leagues for a while, so I'm going to bring those up now.
You're not in the top 10, are you? Oh, good.
Did update them. This is the black box league. So that's a difficult to pronounce name. So as you can take this.
1591.
Alex
That is
Herkjulen is top. 1591. Then we've got Andy Whiteley, 1582. Steve Bum, 1580. Jake Popolowski, 1566. Lyle Mosley on 1553. And then I won't go through all the scores, but it's Nigel Mendonca, Raider, Busquenes, Yogesh Jali, Matt Allen, and Ninja FPL making up the top 10. And then we go to the Godfather
just the 230 points. Alex is ahead of me by.
Godfather League, I'm 13th, so I'm almost on the slate, but not quite. James Rule is top, 1486. Jeremiah Johnson, 1475. Josh De La Rocca, 1474. Mr. James Linden, Planet FBL's James Linden, 1468. And then we've got Krista Tansevsky, Steve Hurst, Ryan Mendelssohn, Jonathan Tingate, Jeff Turner and Rob McCritchie making up the top 10 of the Godfather League. Explain to the listener what the Godfather League is, Az?
The Godfather League is our Patreon league where you will win a very, very cool trophy if you finish top
it's
of
good.
the league, which James is currently winning. And if you want to get involved, there's a link in the description. You can also take part in the Prediction League that Mark and I do. Second half of the season, you can try and get your outcomes better than ours. And yeah, we really appreciate all the support.
Lovely. Right, we managed to, with the new kind of more ad hoc format, we're managing to get it under 2 hours.
This is
now,
it.
Which is nice.
Hour and a half.
11:58 watching. Thank you for everybody who joined us tonight. Have we got any super chats? We have, so let's get to them. We may still get to the 2 hours.
My throat is killing me.
Is
I
it?
told you my middle class injury I got.
Yeah, what happened there? What was the middle class injury you had?
I had a nice steak, peas and potatoes meal. The potatoes were sautéed, so they were quite
potatoes.
hot. And
Right.
as I was frying them, I just took one out and just put it in my mouth and ate it. And it got stuck like halfway down my throat and was just like burning my throat. And I've got like a lump there now. I can feel it.
It's like an episode of Casualty. Man cooking steak with sauté potatoes. Obvious what's going to happen. It's going to be a burnt throat. Yeah.
It hurts. Yeah.
Super chat from BMac. Thank you very much, BMac, for the $4.99. Hello, chaps. Bench boost this. Sells, Munoz, Robinson, Sarr. Would you bench boost that? So let's go through it. He's got Munoz, obviously at home to Brentford. He's got Sells at Bournemouth. Robinson has got United at home. And Sarr has obviously... that does look like a bench boost, doesn't it? God dear. Those are good fixtures. I mean, Sells at Bournemouth probably won't keep it clean. But he's got 2 Palace players at home to Brentford and Robinson at home to United. That is very, very tempting, isn't it?
What's the best, are you going to get anything better than that between now and the end of the season?
Well,
I'd
we
be
kid
surprised.
ourselves we're going to, because we kid ourselves that the double game week is it's going to go gangbusters when we get there for the bench boost, but it never does it?
Can you show him again, sorry? Can you press again?
Yeah, it's basically Sells, Munoz, Robinson and Sarr. If not, he's got a bench 2 of Robinson, Hall, Gabriel and Munoz. Now, I'm benching Munoz. I would probably bench... Bloody hell. I don't know.
I mean, you bench... Sarr hasn't been great, has he, for a while? He would concern me on a bench boost because he could just come off after 60. He's not really been...
Or he's saying, bench one of Sarr and Rodgers.
You definitely bench Sarr, if out of those two.
I think I'd bench boost.
Would you? I don't think I would because Sarr's in it.
Right. So you would bench one and it would be Sarr. Because he's given us that as an option, it looks like.
Yeah, he was one of the defenders to bench, wasn't it? And then bench 2, Robinson, Hall, Gabs and Munoz. So I'd bench Robinson and Munoz and Sarr. Oh, God, benching 2 Palace players at home to Brentford. Oh, I don't know. I'm panicking now.
You can't bench Gabriel, can you, because of the goal threat. But then arguably Munoz has got a greater goal threat.
You'd have to bench Robinson, Munoz and Sarr out of those options. They're the only ones you could bench. Because you're not going to bench Hall, Gabriel,
Munoz,
or Rodgers.
Robinson and Sarr.
So you have to bench Robinson, Munoz and Sarr.
What are the chances you're going to come out unscathed where Munoz, Robinson and Sarr do less than your...
And Sells
11?
as well, with decent goalkeeper to be benching.
I'd bench boost.
Who's his other goalkeeper?
I don't know. B-Matt. No idea. B-Matt, put in chat who your other goalkeepers, and I'll keep an eye on it.
I wouldn't do it, but I wouldn't be happy about it.
It's horrible, isn't it? That's really horrible to have to do that. So I would bench boost, as would bench Robinson, Munoz, and Sarr. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
I guess. And Sells, Christ.
Tommy Doherty, thank you for your super chat, Thomas. Do I switch Raya to Alisson this game week or game week 24? Well, the problem is game week 29, like I said. If you're going to Raya, if you're going to Alisson, Alisson's got more chance of missing game week 29. So by going Raya to Alisson, unless you've got a Fabianski or a reserve keeper that plays in 29, you then are resigned to having to make a goalkeeper transfer before 29, aren't you? Unless you're free hitting. So
the question made it sound that Alisson's coming in regardless, though. It's just whether it's this week or next.
Yeah, it does. You're right.
So I would, if you're going to do it, you do it now,
you do
right?
it now.
Ipswich at home is a better fixture than Wolves
City
away.
at home. And Wolves away, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yep. Matthias Elgstrom, thank you very much for your super chat. Bench one, another bench dilemma. Bench one of Bruno, Cliver, or Wood. Oh, God.
Is that Bruno Fernandes, I'm going to say?
Bruno Fernandes away at Fulham.
I mean, all on penalties as well. Can't even use penalties as a factor.
They are all on penalties, yeah. Oh, God. It'll be Clivert for me. I mean, like... Forest
He's the one I wouldn't
Forest are a better defence than Bournemouth. Bournemouth are very good defensively, but I think Forest are a better defence than Bournemouth. I'm going to back that up by saying, Forest are over the last 6, 1.16, Bournemouth 1.31. Over the season, Forest are definitely stronger. The team most likely to keep a clean sheet, according to the spread betting, is Bournemouth. Okay, I don't think it is. I think that Forest are more likely to keep a clean sheet.
I'd bench
we
Bruno.
Will go with a low block.
How's
Would
that?
you bench Bruno? Would you?
I think there's a couple of goals in that Bournemouth game, and I wouldn't be surprised if Fulham won that to 0. And I just can't stand Bruno.
Fulham are a good defensive side, yeah.
It sounds ridiculous, but
I would bench Clivert.
I think Clive and Wood are the main men in that team, and Fernandes is now playing second fiddle to Ahmad.
What's the spread betting on?
Stupid logic.
United goal is 128, right? Yeah, it's not. Yeah, so the spread betting says that Bournemouth are more likely to score than United.
Oh, I hate stuff like this so much. Honestly, I was so stressed going into last week's deadline with that defense.
No, I think you're right. I think it is Bruno. I mean, it's basically the spread betting market say it's either Bruno or Wood. But if you bench Wood, I do think Forest will score. I think it'll be 1-1. And if Forest score, Wood's probably going to have something to do with it.
I just think Wood and Clivert have done nothing to deserve benching, whereas Fernandes has repeatedly.
And they're all on penalties.
Just get rid of Bruno. Why have you even got Bruno? Just get rid of him.
He was poster boy a few weeks back. We were talking about him.
Mr. Penalty.
And then Avi, thank you very much, Avi, for your super chat. Who is the best Rico Lewis replacement? Have nothing in the bank and will have to play him regularly. Remind me on Rico Lewis's price.
It's probably 4.5, 4.6 now.
Is he in the? Is he in the top?
He's not playing, is he?
He's nowhere near this, is he?
He's not even playing.
I can't get Lewis's price in there, so I'm going to have a look what it currently is.
He's 4.5.
Well, he's 4.5, is he?
Yep.
Well, you go an Everton player, don't you? You go Mikalenko, don't you?
Mikalenko.
Because you're getting ahead of game week 24, and Everton have got Brighton away, which is not terrible. No, you don't think Mikalenko?
I'd go Munoz if I could afford it. If I had the extra 0.3, I still think Munoz is the best pick.
But he hasn't. He's got he's got nothing.
Is
in the
that what he
bank.
says?
Yeah,
you keep putting the super chat away. Why do you keep hiding it?
It goes away automatically after a few.
Does it?
seconds.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop everything. Okay,
so he's got nothing in the bank. So if you're saying 4.5, you've got to get a player who plays in 29. I think, because I don't know how you set up for 29, but you've got to think that way.
Right.
I think it has to be, doesn't it?
I think it has to be. Yeah.
I mean, the other option is Kirkes. Yeah, 4.8 Kirkes now.
He's high. Yeah, it's Mikalenko. It's got to be.
Yeah.
Have fun with that.
No, there isn't, because he will play both the games in a double, won't he? And he plays in 29 as well. And he's got good fixtures between 24 and 29.
Yeah.
So I think reluctantly I'm encouraging you to buy an Everton defender.
Yeah, and I'm agreeing with you, which is bad in multiple ways.
Still 1100 with us. Thank you very much to everyone who joined us. We have done under the 2 hours. I feel like we betrayed everybody by doing that, but it is better for our health to do that. Yeah, only just. Yeah. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. We've robbed you of 10 minutes. But I do like the more relaxed ad hoc format where we discuss topics rather than go through all the data. But we pop around quite a lot. I hope you tolerated that. But it feels more relaxed rather than regimented the way we've done it in the past. We will be back next week, although I've got a problem because I won't. I'm in Sofia. So
I'm on holiday.
And you're on holiday.
There won't be a black box.
There will not be a black box next week. Ahead of the double. That's a problem. We're going to have to do something about that. Okay. All right.
I don't think I can do one. Like
Okay.
I could maybe do something Tuesday night.
How dare you?
I could just do like a Q&A or something Tuesday night. But
well, we can try. We can talk about it. We can talk about it, folks. We should do something ahead of the double game. Although we have talked about it a lot today. We've talked about what we're likely to do, but there could be a change in what happens at the weekend. We'll see what happens at Liverpool. We'll see what happens if Calvert-Lewin gets his hat-trick. So
I can't handle it again. I can't handle him doing that again.
On that note, we go back to Dom there. Is it a dumb move or a Dom move? We'll see.
Very good. Very good.
It's a good night from me.
Good night, everyone. Make sure you like and subscribe.
Oh, yeah, of course. I forgot about that. I'm rubbish with that.
It's okay.
Good night from me again.
Good night, Rob.